Please make your way to your seats. We've got some housekeeping just to go through before the Ringing World meeting starts. Anybody not signed in for the Ringing World meeting? Can everybody please take a seat? So we're ready to start the Ringing World meeting in a timely manner. Right, ladies and gentlemen. Right, I'll get them to turn the background music off in a minute. Although, interesting interlude. Right, welcome to Sheffield. For those who don't know me, that's all about to change. My name is Vicky Chapman. I am the Deputy President of the Central Council of Church Bell Ringers and the Chair of the organising committee for this year's AGM weekend and roadshow. So welcome to Sheffield. Glad you all found your way here. Two very important pieces you need to do. You need to have signed in both for this meeting and for the Ringing World and for the Central Council meeting after lunch. If you don't get to speak or vote or any of those things. So make sure you have done that before the meeting starts. I've got a bit of housekeeping just to go through before the Ringing World meeting starts. First of all, I'm not expecting a fire alarm. If there is one, vacate the building. Go over the field somewhere. So congregate on the field and we'll take a list when we get there. So on behalf of the 2025 annual council meeting organising team, welcome to Yorkshire during this, their anniversary year. I'd like to say a huge thanks to the team from Yorkshire, led by Philip Hall, for all the local organisation and to everyone who's helping out over the course of this weekend. There's a few other thanks that I'd like to record before we get started. We're all in the same room. Thanks to Dave Richards, who's hiding behind the curtain, for sorting out and providing the live stream. So we are being live streamed, so best shirt forward, be polite, all those kind of things. To Doug Davis, who organised the booking form for this weekend and changed it multiple times at my every whim. To Colin Chapman for putting together the programme and dealing with all the adverts and all sorts of other behind-the-scenes efforts trying to keep me sane over the last 6 months particularly. And to Beverly Faber for organising some shirts. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Peter and his team here at Niagara. Peter is currently lurking behind the bar. They've been incredibly helpful in organising and hosting us today and tomorrow for the roadshow. If you've ordered food for lunch, you would have had a little raffle ticket. That's important. No raffle ticket, no lunch. Them's the rules. And the same for this evening. So later on, we'll do the same thing again. You'll need to sign in and get a raffle ticket if you've booked for food for this evening. Of course, if you haven't booked for food, you are welcome to stay for drinks and socialising as well. Throughout the weekend, you'll see folks wearing lovely blue vests. I can see one there, look, being beautifully modelled. These are our army of volunteers. If you've got any questions, queries, comments, or whatever, see one of those. If the toilets have run out of toilet roll, I don't need to know. Because guess what? I didn't bring any, okay? There are 2 sets of toilets. There's some here and there's some through the other side of the bar. If facilities have run out, please find one of the Niagara staff. There's a few of them around in grey tops, or find somebody in one of the blue vests and we can help that out, sort that out for you. Those of you that have booked to attend Sunday service ringing tomorrow, please do make sure you attend. They are expecting you and they may not be able to ring without you. If you've forgotten where you signed up for, the lists were on the registration table as you came in, just as a reminder. Tomorrow, the roadshow officially opens at 11 o'clock, so you have time to go ringing and then come here. It takes place both in this room here and in the marquee, just across the way. So please do make sure you support that. If you haven't already booked but suddenly decide you'd like to attend, that's fine, we'll take your money. Not a problem. There will be a room just behind these concertina doors that you can use as a bag drop, but you do so at your own risk. So if somebody walks off with your suitcase, you're going to get a surprise when you get home. Hopefully the weather's going to stay dry for us. I can't do anything about that, so any comments about the weather, have a word with someone else. We have been notified that tomorrow there will be a smartphone alarm at 3 o'clock. So please bear that in mind. If it sounds like an emergency, just check your phone and make sure it's not that first. It will be in the middle of Gareth's talk, so that may or may not be helpful, I don't know. Or maybe you do, I don't know. So the Ringing World AGM is going to start shortly. Then we'll be having lunch, which will be served just through the back there for those that have ordered lunch. There is Sainsbury's and Greggs and other things that you passed on the way in. So without further ado, are you guys ready? Okay, so thank you all very much for coming. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. If you do, let us know. If you don't, keep it quiet. Thank you.
Hello and welcome. Hi, can you hear me? Liking that. Hello. Hey, good. I'm unbelievably, it's 10 o'clock. How amazing is that? Well done, everyone, for being here. Thank you for being here. We've definitely got enough people to run this formal meeting. It is a formal meeting. We've got an agenda to follow. But we want to have a bit of space for conversation and questions, but we don't expect it will be 2 hours. We'll see how we get on, okay? So first of all, I want to introduce myself. Elva Ainsworth is my name. I'm acting as chair today. Paul Jopp is the chairman of the Ringing World. He was unavoidably not able to make it. He had another commitment today, so he asked me to take his place, and that was approved by the board. So I am not accustomed, I'm accustomed to running board meetings and business meetings, but not this sort of formality. So bear with us if there's a little bit of checking of the formalities as we go through. Let me introduce the other people behind me. There's Mary Bone, who's the secretary. Thank you very much. There's Gareth, who's a board member, and there's Will, the editor, in case people don't know. So my accountability on the board is the youth contest, so I'm very happy to talk about the youth contest. The rest, we'll see how we get on. I'll do my best, okay? We'll do our best to answer questions. First item on the agenda, by the way, papers. The latest papers was emailed out on the 20th of August. So if any of you are looking at it on screen or anything, make sure you're looking at that 20th of August version, and the agenda and the papers are there. The first item on the agenda then is apologies for absence. There's a list. Glasses required. There we go. Right, Ian Oram, ex officio. Kira Chase, ex officio. Paul Jopp, chairman. David Mattingly, ex officio. Chris Mew, fellow. Barbara Wheeler, fellow. Rona McEwen, Barrow District. David Parfrey, Batham Wells. Reverend John Rose, Guild of Clerical Ringers. Glenn Fiddy, Derby Diocesan. Sue Marsden, Ely. Daniel Stevens, Ely. David Towell, Lichfield. Keith Butter, Lincoln. Alan Marchbank, Oxford. Tim Pett, Oxford. Dorothy Hall, Oxford Society. Bob Crichton, Salisbury Guild. Kath Coleman, Suffolk Guild. Vicky Chase, Sussex County Association. Grace Dooley, Swansea and Brecon. Caroline Beckett, Truro Diocesan Guild. Hayley Young, Truro Diocesan Guild. Michelle Giovanni Cambareri, Veronese Association. Michael Church, Winchester and Portsmouth. So that's 25 names. Any more to add from anybody? There's one more from Ernie.
I think there was one more
Was that Tim Pett, Mary says?
Yeah.
Yes, we have that one. Yeah, thank you, Ernie. Great. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there.
I was asked, John Harrison, Oxford Diocesan Guild, I was asked to give Alan Marchbank apology to information.
That was on the list also. Yeah. Any others? Do shout if I don't see your name. Just don't see your arm. Right, next item is to approve the minutes from the AGM meeting last year. Were there any you were asked to forward corrections in advance. Were any received, Mary? None received. Anything else to say about that? Okay, so that means do we do show of hands to approve them then? Yeah, show of hands to approve the minutes from last meeting. You've all seen them. Good. None against. Good. Matters arising from the minutes that are not going to be covered by the agenda points later on. Okie doke. Excellent. We can go on to the next item, can't we, Mary? Yep, very good. So we're now going to look at the accounts, and I've got some slides to take you through. So I've got some slides on some of the sort of big things that are worth really just explaining and exploring a little bit that might be worthy of some conversation. Sorry. Next slide, please. There's somebody in the back doing the slides, honest. Sorry, excuse me. So the final result for last year is a surplus of 20,000. The last year's surplus was 34, so we did really well the previous year, 2023. We did perfectly well last year too. We were on budget effectively with the 20k. It was a bit of a bumper year the previous year. In terms of things that were less than the last year, which was such a bumper year, was that the postal subscriptions were down a bit. And that's a little bit of a trend, as we know. And I'll have a closer look at what exactly is that trend, how's it going, because that's such a key thing for us to keep an eye on. Donations were down. Now that's quite a chunk, and we know that tends to relate to the number of big royal events, etc. Make a difference to the amount of donations that come through. Merchandise sales were down by quite a bit, but it was perhaps reflecting the bumper year of the previous year. Number of books, etc. So that was to do with that. Advertising down a tiny bit, but the interest we're receiving on our investments was significantly up for general, interest rate reasons. So that's the result. So it's healthy as expected. We're covering what we're doing. And we've, got a little bit of surplus there to keep going. Question?
Sorry, Andrew Aspland, Lichfield and Walsall. Is it a coincidence that the last year's surplus is exactly equivalent to the, or is that a mistake?
Oh, yes. A microphone is coming. That's probably the best thing to do. Yes, sorry, I don't know if it was said. Do say your name and go.
Andrew Aspland, Lichfield and Walsall. Is it a coincidence that the £34,139 is...
Oh, goodness.
Or is it a mistake?
Yes, that's an error. Sorry, that should be 1 4. Yeah, sorry. Excuse me. Another question?
Robert Perry, Truro Guild. The accounts show donations and legacies. Were there any legacies as such?
I think there was one. Do you remember who it was? It was a small one, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was one very.
Yeah. There were some. Yeah, it was one small one. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, next slide, please. Just to have a look at where does our income come from that has us managed to cover our costs and a little bit more, then you can see from this pie chart that the publication is the main source. So the paper publication and online together, that's what gives us most of our income. Donations is a big chunk, though. Sorry, thank you for telling me. I didn't know that. So the big blue, big section is publications. Then the orangey red one is donations. So the donations are still giving us a big chunk, and we expect that to continue and hope it will continue, but we are reliant on those donations for sure. Other sources of income, and that's mostly sales of diaries, calendars, books. Oh, sorry, diary is separate. Yeah, it's the books, etc. Those other types of things. And the purple is diary. And the pale blue slim cake, as a piece of cake, is investment. So that's the interest on our investments. Question? Yes, exactly.
So it might be interesting to have the actual subscription maintain the publication section separate with the same publications as the other books and things that we publish as well.
It is. Sorry, I'm using the word publication perhaps and it's confusing you a bit. So the blue is the paper and digital version of our journal. The the pale green includes other publications. So it should say subscription, perhaps, to be clearer. So the big chunk comes from our subscriptions. When it's falling continuously, we know we have a problem. We know where we're heading. It's slow, and steady, but we'll come back to that. Next slide, please. Don't think there are any other questions. In terms of expenditure, we spent 5k less than last year, So we were keeping things tight. Salaries, etc., were up by a chunk, with salary increases, a promotion. For instance, printing was down a bit. Franking was up. Accountancies fees were down. We found a more local accountant who had a more reasonable fee, so we managed to get that down a bit. And expenditure on promotions was also down. So we're keeping the costs tight, helped very much by having a stable, established, productive team. And, you know, I'll probably say this a few times, but thank you to Will and Trish, I know is somewhere in the room, for amazing work through the year. So, yeah, thank you. Yes, because it's been a stable team, and you know, as soon as one member of staff leaves, there's a cost in replacement, and there's interim, etc. So just having a motivated team makes all the difference. And I think, certainly from my observation and feedback I've had, the quality of what we are sending out has been terrific. So, but I'd love your comments on it. Next slide, please. So what are our costs? What are we spending our money in? And I will tell you what these are again. So the big blue chunk is the staff costs. So that is a major cost for us. If there's any way we can have efficiencies in that area, we're continually looking at that. How can we trim things? How can we be more efficient? But that's not easy with a small sort of expert team that's required to deliver what we do. Then we've got printing and franking is the other major expense to get the publication out of the door. So they're the big costs. And then the other slice is the pale green is supporting other costs for other products. Then there's office and telephone costs. Then you've got the pale blue, which is the bank fees. Then you've got the diary costs of materials, etc. Then you've got computer costs and miscellaneous. I just picked out the chunkiest costs in the expenditure. So that's where the money's going. And of course, in terms of printing, franking, what is the whole future of even printing the journal and distributing it? And what difference will it make to our cost model? That's all to be reviewed in the coming years, I'm sure. Well, we are looking at it very seriously. Next slide, please. Yes.
Let's use the microphone. As soon as we have it.
You have to run.
Where do the costs of doing the electronic publications come then? Do they come in printing, in being electronic printing, or are they in the computer costs? Let's hypothesize, regardless of what we might do, where do the electronic costs go if we were to go all or no paper copies?
It's staff costs. It's in the staff costs, isn't it, Will?
I'm not sure what you mean by the electronic costs.
Well, if we stopped printing and franking, where do costs actually fall, and effectively what would increase? Which of those bits in the pie? Or is it all?
I was suggesting staff. The computer cost is more hardware, buying laptops and stuff.
I think the main point would... I'm thinking on my feet, but I think the main point would be that we currently produce a digital version of the paper version. We produce a PDF which looks like the paper. If we were to stop printing it, we wouldn't clearly produce that. So I think the whole structure would change around. But obviously our need for a production and design setup based around a paper version would look different if we were producing a digital version. That's one of the big questions.
Any other questions? Okay, so in terms of balance sheet, which is very important just to keep an eye on, are we, viable? Can we continue working in coming years? The current assets are at this level, liabilities at 156. So Our general reserve is circa 360 at the moment, as of this moment. And of that general reserve, if we were to, for instance, wind down or anything like that, we would be left. What there would be left with would be 150k to invest. So in a way, what we're dealing with is not really 360. We've got 150k to work with, which is very useful because we have got some work to do to work out where we're going. Again, more on that story later. Next slide, please, Dave. So do we need to vote for accepting that financial report now? So vote to, what do I ask? Show of hands. Show of hands. That's obvious, right? Excellent. Thank you very much. Any against? Cool. Right. So the chairman's report. Next slide, please. Now, I've touched on a few of these points. I just want to confirm some of them. These are the current team. These are the staff. Tricia was promoted to assistant editor from editing assistant in the year. It's profound. It's profound. Don't laugh. Subtle but profound. And what's great is that with Tricia really helping support and sort of fill in form with Will, it means that Will can just about cope with July, for instance, when there's two really big events that he needs to cover, the 12 Bell and the youth contest, for instance. So with that team, we've got more robust team to deliver ongoingly, and Will can take some holidays, maybe, if we let him. So big thank you to the team, absolutely, and also thank you to the volunteers, because the Ringing World is not like an ordinary business in any way, and has massive amount of input from volunteers, as all our bell ringing activities are like this, I know. So Richard Smith and Bellboard, he does a terrific amount on Bellboard, and it's crucial for how we ring and what motivates us these days. So again, a bit more on that later. Bill Hibbert for other software support, Doug Davis for court appeal proofreading. I'll read the bottom ones for those at the back who might not see it. Phil Moyes and Nigel Herriot for Bellboard inquiries, and Joe Creswell, who's the youth contest organiser. I'll say more about the youth contest soon. So a big thank you for that. They're really big players within the team. Next, yes, thank you. So on to some other specifics. So in terms of publications, this year there have been these two areas. There's do you want to talk about them actually, because you're the expert on these areas?
Yes, if you wish. We've relaunched Vigour's Ringing Records, which many of you may remember from your youth or still come across dusty copies of in old towers.
Stand up, Will.
Oh, sorry. We've relaunched Vigour's Ringing Records with the support, this is back in 2024, with the support of Bill Vigour's daughter. And we offer a customisable set of ringing record books, including a variety of inner sheets, and we can do some customised foiling on the front and that kind of thing. I hope there's a little bit of a potential for more development in that area as well, for people to keep customised records. And then the magnum opus of the year was written by the gentleman sitting next to me, Gareth Davies. Stunning history of ringing in Cambridge over 500 years. If you don't think you have any interest in Cambridge, you will still find this book interesting. Good history writing, for me, makes you view the present differently when you get back to the present. And that's what this book does. So I encourage you to read it. I'm very, very proud that the Ringing World has put it out. So that was our major book for the year.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Next slide. Right, so Bellboard. So there needs to be some major architectural changes to happen to Bellboard to move forward, and so some of that work has been done in 2024 and is ongoing, and also is being discussed exactly what how. I don't expect many people to understand what that means, because I don't really understand it either. So updating software is really important, because we need to protect ourselves from AI-driven bots, which are a thing now. This time last year they weren't a thing, and now they're a thing. And so we have to keep these things up to date for it to be practical and workable in the future. It's hard. It takes time for people who are in other jobs. And what's coming next is upgrading to the next level of PHP. PHP is the programming language that is used to build Bellboard. Is Richard Smith here? I can't see him. Do you want to say anything more about that, Richard? I think that might be a no. Do I have to?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a great deal to add to that. As you said, it's sort of architectural changes under the surface to enable us to stand still. This is not stuff that will make Bellboard visibly better or different or new functionality. This is just so that in 4 years, 5 years' time, everything is still working as it is at the moment.
Yes, and thank you, Richard, for that. And certainly from my perspective, I have family members, some who ring a lot as student, and an elderly father who looks at Bellboard 3 or 4 times a day just to see what you're all up to. It's our form of news now, really, isn't it? In some ways, so it's an important tool for us. And the younger ringers, I mean, they sort of ring for Bellboard now. It's like, whoa. So it's a motivational tool that we need to really take care of, with care. Next slide. Oh, is there something?
Could I just quickly emphasise that little line in there that says protection against abusive bots? Some of us now have seen enough of the internet to know that our original idea that once it was online it was safe is a complete fallacy. Websites fall and are attacked all the time, and the landscape shifts now more and more rapidly. The amount of time that Richard, almost solely Richard, put in to make sure that Bellboard remains a robust and stable site as AI bots attacked it from every side across the last 18 months or so is really remarkable. So I just want to personally emphasize, because I know some of what the magnitude of that work is, I want to emphasize thanks to Richard for putting in that kind of time. It happens urgently, and he responds immediately. So thanks.
Great. Oh, you've got a question.
Yeah, John Martin, Guild of Devonshire Ringers. Thanks very much to Richard, who obviously puts in a lot of effort behind the scenes, but something Will just said rang an alarm bell for me. The suggestion that maybe there's a single point of failure with Richard, and what is the board's plan to try and address that?
Do you have something?
Richard may be able to answer this slightly better, but in the immediate sense, we have a number of backups, both of the database and of the code across a number of locations, and no single individual has access to all of those. So there's no potential for bad actors to bring down Bellboard from that point of view. But as we go forward, that is a very big problem of a single point of failure from a business organisation point of view. I think the short answer is that Bellboard has evolved over now 13 years in a way which obviously with hindsight you wouldn't have designed, because that's how things work. And we are going to be putting a lot of work into redesigning it under the hood. Again, as Richard said, not with things that will necessarily be very visible, but to make it far more appropriate for external developers to get involved. We've been doing a lot of work recently on strategy towards modularization, such that we can eventually unplug certain modules of Bellboard code and plug in commercial code, for instance, to do certain functions. That's very important. I know the board believe that it's very important. I know that I do, and I know that Richard does as well. So, yeah, we do take that seriously.
Richard?
Possibly one point to add to that is that it is not, although in practice it is usually me who's picking up all of the work when we get abusive bots trying to attack Bellboard and also attack Dove, because they both use the same hosting infrastructure. The alerts, I get an SMS message anytime Bellboard is going slow. I'm not the only person who gets those alerts. Many of you will probably know that I work for an internet hosting company. The support team at that company also gets alerts in the event that Bellboard goes down, and they have the ability to do some of the sorts of things that I would do to address these, at least in the short term, until I'm able to get back on top of it. So if I'm traveling, not able to get in front of a laptop and Bellboard goes down, you're not stuck, you're not without the service. So we do have some contingencies in place.
David Everett, Suffolk Guild. I think Richard may have just answered the question I was going to ask before he started, and that is, you've talked about backups of software and code and so on. Do we have sufficient backup if Richard is incapacitated? Now, to some extent, he's answered that, but has the board got sufficient people of Richard's calibre who can actually oversee the whole system if Richard was incapacitated for whatever reason?
10 people that might get up to covering Richard, but yeah, the answer is straightforward no, but we're doing the best we can to cover, yeah, in long-term planning.
Who was first? Sorry. Linda Garton, Bedfordshire Association. Just a quick question. I know that in the past there have been discussions about the possibility of monetising Bellboard. Is that still something that is there, sort of being discussed?
So many discussions. So many discussions, yes. It's been the main sort of question that we've been exploring this year. We don't have the answers yet, is the headline. That's the result of those discussions. But we have some areas where we think it might work, but it's a bigger question than just that. Once you start asking these questions, somehow all the big issues seem to come really clear, and that's what we're getting clear on, and how we might fix those.
It is worth praising that with the top line, that all of Richard's work was always done under a formal agreement with the board, that the basic functionality of Bellboard, which includes viewing, submitting, searching for performances, remains free in perpetuity. So when we talk about monetizing Bellboard, we are talking about monetizing the extras, as it were, a sort of what you are more used to in certain apps, in many apps in your life, where there's a free version and then there's a premium version where you get extras.
Yes, the functionality to be able to record performances and to search at a basic level for sure will remain available to everyone for free. That's the idea.
Hi, Jason Carter, G&B. Just going back to John's question, there's a related question, which is Richard's time and the other volunteers' time isn't recorded in the account. So do you know how much that costs? And if we were paying for it, what the accounts would actually look like?
Wouldn't be pretty, I don't think. No, but it's a good point to raise. You know, we mustn't forget that there's that work going on. So in actual fact, we're not covering our costs at all, if one were to equate that. But it isn't quite how it works in bell ringing, is it? But yeah, no, it's a good point. We might put a figure on it sometime. Yeah, we might look at that. Any other questions?
Not a question, but to follow that, very often it's helpful in charity accounts to show that value, because if you are bidding for, say, ultimately grants or something from other organisations in due course, one of the key things they'd like to see is community involvement and engagement and other contributions in kind. So it's very useful to have quantification in retrospect. If you go, because if you want to show increase or anything like that, it gives you a benchmark to start with.
Yeah, good point. And in fact, we've been sort of doing that with the youth contest. We've been counting up the number of hours of support given to support the youth contest, and it totally doubles the cost of it, if not more than that. So yeah, we are starting to think that way, and we should do that. I agree. It's a very good idea. Good. Oh, sorry, didn't see you there.
Well, from the sublime to the ridiculous, Bellboard is absolutely invaluable when you get a visiting ringer turning up in the tower and it looks as if it knows what it's doing, and you look it up on Bellboard and find its record is 20 minutes of call changes. It's very, very handy. Thank you for thank you to Bellboard.
Fantastically useful tool, isn't it? Yes, that's another angle on it, for sure. Good. I'll move on to the publication itself. Now, we've been talking, this is going back to some of the questions raised earlier, monthly, digital, that whole conversation. We know that's sort of what we might need to be thinking of, and what we've done, and we put on actually making the monthly publication idea go forward. We put that on hold for this year, exploring this bigger question of integrating within Bellboard to go to a bigger question, which is how can we go fully digital here? Not necessarily fully digital, but how can we develop the digital products for all of our ringers so that we actually do fit the needs of the younger ringers. We knew from the survey a few years ago that it was the younger ringers that were more interested in something that wasn't the paper publication, that might have been a monthly publication. We know that. So we're actually dealing with the bigger problem, and we might end up with a monthly publication and digital something else. You know, who that may be this time next year. What we're saying, this is what we're going to try. We haven't quite decided that yet. In fact, we haven't decided that at all yet. But that's what's happened with that conversation. So even though I personally would have preferred to have had more progress in this area, it needs careful thought. This is not something to rush into, and we need to take everyone with us and make sure we have it absolutely right for ringing in the future. And I think we do have a bit of time. We don't have forever, though. Yes.
Hi, Jason Carter from the GMB. Your subscription number that you showed earlier wasn't broken down between online and paper. Do you have that split? And that will probably be key to determining when you make that move.
I'll show you some subscription figures in a minute. Yeah.
Paul Watson, Bath and Wells. If we do go to actually digital, will you make provision to keep some paper record of appeals and court appeals? Because I think many of us understand in the modern age that however secure you make your digital records, nothing is secure as a piece of paper which lasts 1,000 years and you can still look up in an archive. So you do ultimately need that really hard record of what's been done.
Records are very important. So yes, I'm sure there'll be archivable performance. If that's what we ringers want, that's what we should make sure we have, right? So it's how to do that in a commercially viable way that fits with everything else is really the challenge that we're getting our heads around. Yeah, we know it's important. Any other questions? One of the aspects that we looked at in 2024 specifically was how to deal with subscriptions a little bit more automatedly. There's all sorts of apps available, and we had another look at that, and there were further discussions with Subscribe the CRM. It's not completely obvious what the answer is just yet. We have invaders. I don't think they're ringers due to their football kit. So we're looking at the bigger picture there, and we've been including Richard and Bill Hibbert in these integration questions. So we've had a number of meetings over the last 6 months, and one just last week it was. So it's active conversation. Richard did take a while to write a report when we asked him to let us know what it would take to make some changes that we'd quite like to see to move towards a sort of modular integrated approach. And it took a while, didn't it? But it was like 88 pages, and he hadn't even finished it, had he? So there's a lot to consider, because we may as well get it right, you know. Yeah.
The new member, CRM.
Did you get that? Sorry. That's jargon. Sorry, yes. It's just a more automated way of having everybody's details managed well. And you know, it could be in the future that what we're talking about is an opportunity to personalise, for instance, what you can see. You know, it might be you say, I want weekly email updates, or I want monthly something or other. And you know, but we need the systems in place to be able to do that sort of thing. But it's possible now. And with AI coming in, a huge amount has changed. I've been putting AI into my business, and lots of others have too. And there's new tools coming up that just allow another level of cleverness. I can't tell you, it's amazing. It's really stunning what's possible now. So I'm excited that we will get something. We'll get something really amazing. Next slide, please. Subscription levels. So I went as far back as I could find the valid sort of figures, and so it's back to 2002. If you can't see, can you see the bottom line? No. Okay. On the left-hand side is 2002. So it is, the subscriptions then were about 3,750, something like that. And you can see the path. It's pretty clear, isn't it? It's a pretty clear downward slope. The pale green is the paper publication subscriptions, and the red is the digital subscriptions. Obviously, they only came in 2010. But it could be slightly flattening out there, the digital. But overall, we're going down. Overall, we're going down. That is the path that we're going down. So, yeah, we know that in say 10 years' time, it's highly possible that this model won't work at all, especially in the context of other costs going up. I mean, just as an example of what the context we're in, the Royal Mail changed their second-class mailing recently. Did anyone notice? But they did. They went to alternate day delivery. So, you know, when are they going to stop it altogether? So will it be that there's no Royal Mail at some point? You know, that's the path of travel. You know, I used to get mail every day, an interesting mix of stuff, and now I get the Ringing World and some NHS letters that I've already had an email about. So we're pushing it here a bit, and it's the world we're in rather than what we necessarily want. But that's what we have to deal with. So it's in that sort of medium-term issue that we know is coming that we are wanting to spend the time to get this right.
Neil Dodge, Suffolk Guild. How popular has been the tower subscription option? Do you have the figures for that?
Yeah.
Not very, sadly. I think, if I'm honest, it's been a slightly hard... So, sorry, to start from the beginning, Neil asked about tower subscriptions, which were a way of sharing, particularly sharing online access. We know that a lot of people are abusing single individual subscription online access, but we believe that most people would happily do the right thing if they could. And so we launched a shared online subscription where you pay for a group of readers to have access in a more limited way to each week's issue. That's now something like 3 or 4 years old, and it has only sold a trickle. It's a few tens. I think it's a slightly hard product for people to grasp, I think is one of the problems. But it is a shame, and I think the future of the paper, if there is a future of the paper, probably lies with tower subscriptions. So it's an area that I think we should lean into more.
Yes, there's nothing like sitting out in a practice and leafing through the latest Ring and World, right? So, you know, maybe there's some way we can continue that. I don't know.
Association. Some magazines are reducing the costs of their subscriptions, but recuperating the costs by a greater advertising programme. Have you considered that at all?
Not as such. Yes, it's how much. Where do our advertisers come from? It would be one thing, and do we really want lots of advertising in our stuff? Is another. So I mean, it's a tricky one, but we should definitely put it on the agenda to consider for sure.
Jackie Roberts, Guildford Diocesan Guild and former chairman of the Ringing World. We looked very hard at advertising when I was chairman, and ringing is almost the one activity for which you do not need to buy a single thing in order to take part in ringing. And the big thing that you need, which is the bells, is provided for you. So your advertising options are extremely limited.
You may have noticed over the last couple of years that printed advertising in the ringing world has actually jumped considerably. That's mainly thanks to Jo Lee, our marketing and admin assistant in the office, who is very good at extracting people's money. And she certainly had her eyes set on more what I think of as external advertising, sort of non-ringing related advertising. As you might imagine, big companies are not interested in the small numbers that we offer in terms of circulation. So I think we do well within the ringing ecosystem in terms of advertising, but it's very hard to break outside of that. We have tried a few experiments. They haven't gone particularly well. I think there's more room for experimentation. That's where we are.
We are taking another look at marketing generally. Gareth and I were talking just the other day, so there might be some useful things we can now do anyway. But it may be that these sort of ideas will not solve the problem. You know, we still need to deal with the bigger model, the business model, commercial model that we're working on. There's 2 questions there.
John Harrison, Oxford Diocesan Guild. Back on the question of tower subscriptions, this might not affect the business model and the money coming in, but if you view the ringing world as an essential feature of the exercise, I believe quite a lot of people, certainly in my own tower, read the tower copy. So has anybody tried to find out what our readership is as opposed to our subscriber list?
Within the commercial world, there are sort of established ways to count your readership. For instance, if you know that if you can guess that 10% of your subscriptions go into a family home, then you call that readership 5, that kind of thing. When you do it like that, our readership is actually very impressive. I've sat down and looked at that, and I think under commercial standards, you could comfortably say that the readership was well up into the several thousands, which as a penetration figure within the world of ringing is very good. Sadly, I don't think that ringers would buy that. So we don't tend to shout those figures, even though they would be, I think, appropriate in a more commercial sphere to use those figures. Sorry, what was the question, John? I've digressed.
Has anybody the question was relevant to the ringing world as a feature of the ringing community. Has anybody tried to estimate? Now, you've said you could do it using standard formulae. I think you've said ringers don't like to be faced with pleasant truth.
Yeah, exactly. What we don't know is how many people take their personal copy of the ringing world eventually into a tower. We could pluck some numbers out of thin air and make some guesses, but we honestly don't know that figure.
We did have some figures from the survey we did a couple of years ago, because we could tell that there were twice as many people who read the ringing world than said they subscribed, who answered the survey. So that you can't be conclusive about that, but that's a lot, right? So, yeah.
David Smith, ANZAB, excuse me if I don't stand up. The earlier figures showed a fairly small decline in subscription income. It is going down. That's obviously made up of lost subscriptions or subscriptions that aren't renewed, balanced against new subscriptions. Do we have any information about the new subscriptions? Are there many? And in particular, are they tower or individual printed or electronic? Where are the new subscriptions coming from?
Yes, we do get a constant stream of new subscriptions, but sadly it's outnumbered by the end of long, loyal subscriptions in an unavoidable way, shall we say. The slide to as you can see on the graph, the digital figures tick up very slowly over the years, and that I think is about 3/4 people sliding from paper to digital.
Going back to the previous question, why don't you take a straw poll in this room? Who takes the ringing world as a paper copy, and then who takes it subsequently into the tower? Some people may not wish to admit in front of you, Will, but it might be just an interesting question. Take this non-statistically significant sample.
Hands up who has a paper subscription. Loads. I'm not sure I want to ask the other question. Who has a digital subscription? There aren't many of you who haven't got anything, are there? Does anyone want to admit they haven't got any at all? Really? Oh, right. Target them. They've got a target on them. People do. How many of you take it into the tower of those who have paper subscription? There's a few of you who do, but not lots. Interesting.
Okay, Ian Buckmore of the G&B. On the basis of collaboration, how can territorial associations, how could we best actively promote Ringing World?
Love that question. We do, don't we?
Yeah, one thing we'd like to try soon is what we're thinking of as sort of a mail drop, where we try and get a ringing world into every tower in a specified area. So you could definitely assist us with that. I think we have a strong belief that there is a large portion of the ringing community that is either completely unaware of the ringing world's existence or seriously out of date with how it looks. So that is obviously a portion of the market that we'd like to get to. That's something that Gareth is keen to do.
Can I just add to that obviously one of the problems that Ringing World faces in targeting new subscribers is actually knowing who to target. And local associations are in a much better position to identify new ringers and potentially put offers in front of them than the Ringing World directly. So that is something that we're looking at actively about how we might achieve that with associations' support.
Sorry, you've got the mic. Sorry.
Direct suggestion as a follow-up to that question was if the Ringing World can produce flyers and get them out to district and association secretaries, we can put them in new members' packs when we give out certificates and so on.
Idea accepted. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Angela Elliott, PRO for the Central Council. It would, in your question, who takes the subscriptions of the digital or of the paper copies, I didn't put my hand up to either. I read it in the tower. Now you're talking about getting a copy into every tower. That naturally means you're not going to get subscriptions from those people because you just read it in the tower. So your subscription model is a bit skewed if you think about just getting it in the tower, then you're not getting subscriptions.
Indicates the conundrum that we have, right?
Exactly.
That we are serving the community of ringers and we're trying to be commercial at the same time. So I understand that sounds bonkers, but I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense. Who was next? You have the mic, right?
Chris Haller, North American Guild. Speaking just for our guild, we're so scattered, and there are many towers, I think, where perhaps no one has ever seen a copy of The Ringing World. I would be interested in perhaps even helping to sponsor an outreach program where each tower gets a few flyers for subscription offers, along with, say, a week or two of The Ringing World, to put it in front of people's faces and let them know what they're missing.
Idea. Noted. We'll be getting back to you. There's a mic at the back there, and then we'll come to you.
Ian Self, Truro Guild. A couple of points I wanted to make. Firstly, not heard much in the way of congratulations to the whole Ringing World team for the excellent work you all do. Wonderful publication. Bellboard, I think, is an incredible piece of work as well. My thought with finances, obviously Bellboard does bring in a reasonable amount of income. Is there much, what's the sort of split between those people that donate and those that don't donate? Are there many that don't donate, and could they be encouraged to donate? And also, would it be possible to consider perhaps a minimum donation for peels and quarter peels and other performances? Just something that might be considered.
So donations with performances is a thing. Do you want to speak on how many donate?
As a glance at the Ringing World will probably tell you, quarter peel ringers are in general very loyal donors. We also have patches of very loyal donors geographically, and I'd nod back to our American friends who are very loyal supporters. Thank you. Peel ringers, less so in general, and thus therein lies our problem. I think we should perhaps admit a shortcoming here, which is that we hoped that the 2023 big survey would give us a better insight into this reasoning and how we can use it or change it. And I don't think we followed that through well enough. I think there are also difficult questions about whether we are a business or a charity and how much we lean into those concepts.
Right, last one.
Charlotte Boyce, Guild of Devonshire Ringers. We've just been talking here, and we'd be very happy to put a link to Ringing World on our member mojo, so our 570 members have that in their face when they join and renew their subscription. So that was something we'd really like to work with you. And also, when I just sat here thinking, we never mentioned Ringing World in our AGM. And we should. So we're going to try and do something about that.
Good idea. Yes, Will?
Another thing we can do already, and please do tell your association people to get in touch with us, is produce little bits of material for your newsletters. I think many newsletter editors are probably happy for copy, as am I. And so we can write occasional updates, and we already do for a few regional newsletters to provide you with a bit of copy and provide you with a bit of news about us. So that's a way that also that we can help you back, I hope.
Yes, do reach out also, and we can provide you with stuff. Thank you. Okay. Anything else urgent on the chairman's report? No. Okay. So hands up for approval of the chairman's report, please. Oh yes, there is an amendment. There's a sentence that was not updated fully. Could you have the next slide? Right. These are the donations per month over the years, which I forgot we had to when you were talking. There we go. And you can see the peaks there. They are very royal-focused peaks, what can I say, or big events. And next slide, please. For those of you at the back, it's months at the bottom. And so you've got the 3 last year's figures there, appeal totals. And so it's just to give you a general context of the level of performances going on. And there's a sort of stability to it right now, actually. Next one. And there we are with court appeals. So that is also the context we're in. Next slide. So this is an updated sentence, 2-sentence from the report that you've seen. So it doesn't change anything. It just updates it to what we've been talking about. So if you want to have a quick read of that. Oh, of course. Sorry. Yes. Work on exploring a monthly publication was paused during 2024, allowing us to focus instead on investigating digital products, particularly subscription management solutions. It quickly became clear that integration with Bellboard would be complex, so an alternative approach was needed. Developing this approach has now become our priority for 2025. Okay? So with that added into the... There's a question.
Thank you. Robert Perry, Churro Guild. I don't mean to sound critical, but I think that first paragraph is rather unfortunately worded. It implies that the only ringing activity worthy of comment are appeals and court appeals. There's an awful lot of ringing beyond those fairly specialised areas, and I speak from a county which has no great tradition of message ringing, but which does an awful lot of other ringing consistently and well. And although I understand why it's worded as it is, as I say, I think it's, certainly for the area that I represent, it's slightly unfortunate.
I apologise if it implies that there's no other ringing. That's not at all what it was meant. Yeah, no, it's referring to the connection between these performances and our income. That's why they were mentioned, not trying to be a summary of general ringing activity. But point taken for next time. Hands up approving for the chairman's report, please, with that amended sentence. Thank you. Anybody against? Super. Right. Next slide. So we're into appointing of directors now. So under Article 26, 1/3 of the directors retire by rotation. And this year, Graham Bradshaw and Gareth Davies are retiring. Graham Bradshaw is operating as our FD. These directors retire from office on the conclusion of this meeting, at which point new directors take up their appointments. So Graham and Gareth, being eligible, are willing to be reappointed, and we have given notice in accordance with Article 29 to propose the following. There's Graham Bradshaw, and you can see a little bit of information about it. I'll summarise it for people. He's a chartered accountant, proposed by Simon Linford, has spent 14 years in global professional firms, Ernst & Young, and then held finance director roles at sportingbet.com, and William Hill and Addison Lee, and is past master of the Ancient Society of College Youths. So that's Graham. And now we have to do each one at a time, don't we? Is that correct? So first of all, I have to seek permission from you that we vote on these appointments by hand versus by paper vote. We can do a paper vote if you so wish, but if everyone's okay, and it has to be everyone's okay, then we'll go with just show of hands. So the question is, does anyone want us to do a paper vote? Hands up. There's nearly a hand there, wasn't there? Flip. Okay, so you're all happy with showing of hands. Linda. Well, no, there's two more, two new. These two, we could appoint all four. Yes, indeed. Okay, so we'll vote now on Graham. Hands up says yes. Thank you very much. I don't think I need to count you. Any against? Any abstain? One abstain. Two abstain? Okay. So that means that's a yes. Yay. And we'll pass thanks to Graham for his work over the last 3 years for producing the accounts as well. So Gareth's just gone. Very wise. So Gareth was the one who just left. So he's retired, no other directorships, proposed by Sue Marsden. He's been ringing tower bells and handbells since the 1970s. Much of his ringing was with the University of London Society before he moved to Cambridge in the 80s. And he's rung peals on most numbers of bells from 6 to 18, now tower captain at a 6-bell tower where he's teaching a new band using the Learning the Ropes scheme. After working with civil service, most of Gareth's career was spent in education, first as primary school teacher and then in service teacher training on the use of digital systems and resources. Has served as governor and trustee for a number of schools and a multi-academy trust. Since retiring, he's completed a history PhD on ringing in Cambridge in the 18th and 19th century. He regularly gives talks to both ringing and non-ringing audiences and contributes to articles in the Ringing World, and of course is the author of the book we heard about earlier. And he hopes that he will continue looking at the marketing subject and the strategic subject. He's been very useful input for us over the last 3 years. So that's Gareth. Hands up, please. Thank you very much. Any against? Any abstain? You can come back, Gareth. Thank you. And thank you. Thank you for your work and contribution. Excellent. Right, there's two new people that we're wanting to propose. James Watkins, proposed by Colin Newman. Is Colin here? There he is. Do you want to speak to this, Colin, at all? No. Shall I summarise it? James is a solicitor. Learnt to ring in Essex as a teenager in the mid-2000s, went on to study history at Durham University, rang with the society there, and it was master. Then ringing master at Saffron Walden, Essex, and then moved to London, where he rings in the City of London. He's qualified solicitor, senior associate at Magic Circle law firm, where he's worked for several years, advising on structured and asset-backed finance, whatever that is. So James is a potential successor for Mary, because she may not actually want to do this job forever. So it could be very useful for us as a potential successor at some point. So hands up, please, for James. Excellent. Any against? You have to be fast, you know. Any abstain? No. Abstain over there, one. Yeah. Thank you. Next. Excellent. We're very happy to have James on board. Rebecca Sugden. Rebecca, I am very keen to have Rebecca more involved to support our work with the youth contest. It's a big, big deal, the youth contest. I'll come to it shortly. And we just need an extra pair of hands would be super useful. And she was heavily involved in the London Youth Contest last year. So she's got that experience and she's got the skill set that would really help and support. So her background is she's a strategic partnership advisor for the Wellcome Trust. She's got no other directorships and is proposed by Dorothy Hall. Is Dorothy here? No. She's been ringing since she was 11. She learnt in York before moving to Birmingham for university, then on to London. She's a member of the Ancient Society of Collegians and deputy ringing master at St Paul's Cathedral, where she's been ringing for services for over 20 years. And I used to ring with her there. Rebecca has worked in different health roles, focusing on establishing effective partnerships for policy development and implementation, and helped with the London Youth Contest, and is keen to be involved. Hands up for Becky, please. Excellent. I'm going to give everybody a chance to put their hands down. Any against? Any abstain? One abstain. Thank you. They're duly elected. Is there anything else I need to formally say about those? No. Cool. Right, next point. We need to give the directors authority to appoint an independent examiner. This is just a simple vote, isn't it? Yes. Hands up if you're okay for us to appoint an independent examiner. Thank you. Any against? Any abstain? Super. Can't see and talk to you at the same time. Future. So next slide, please. Right, youth contest. I think I'm going to swap the items around. Yes? Yes, I think I've gotten the wrong way round in the slides. Shall we do youth contest while we're here? Yeah, you may as well, if you can excuse me. Right, okay. So youth contest. I need my other piece of paper for this. Next slide, please. So these are the last 3 years. This is where we've been. 2023 we were in York, then last year London, and then this year Birmingham. We are planning to be in Nottingham next year, and we've already started making arrangements with them. We started before this concert. Huge thanks to Birmingham for allowing us to come and invade your city at the same time as, who was it there? Oh, Simon's here somewhere. Ozzy Osbourne, yeah, I mean, honestly, it was mad. Birmingham was completely mad, wasn't it? There was basically a huge rock concert going on. So the rock concert and the bell ringers and the cricket, so it was mad. Birmingham was amazing. So Birmingham at last minute helped us out and really pulled it off. We had a record number of teams, 37 teams. We were 36 in London, which we thought was ridiculously, madly huge. And we thought, well, we'll never get it again. That's because it's London. And then we got 37. And not only that, we had 4 more teams apply, and they wanted to come, and then they dropped out because they couldn't quite make their band, or 2 of them came as just participating rather than bringing teams to compete. So actually, it's more like 41. So that's the size of this event these days. It means we have 950 people involved on the day. That includes the young people, their friends and helpers, their adult helpers, their team leaders. There's all the stewards, lots of stewards to help supervise and help people in the towers. And the volunteers all over the place. It's a lot. So the Birmingham day was absolutely fantastic, and this is the bull ring. We managed to get almost everyone into the bull ring. It was our headquarters. There was only enough room to seat the young ringers and the team leaders. Others had to stand. So that's how tricky this is, just finding the venues to enough people. We had an amazing awards ceremony. We improved the awards ceremony. It was a bit slicker, half an hour, and it really seemed to do the job of everyone coming together and leaving feeling like they've been celebrated, acknowledged. They got a medal. The winners were acknowledged. Like it was, yeah. So these things are getting better each time. We're improving things each time, and each time we're finding new problems, to be honest with you. So that's sort of how it goes. Anything else to say about the Birmingham Youth Contest? Anything for you, Will? Just to say, this year we did a full review of the youth contest after the event, before we got into the Nottingham one, because you're straight into the other one, the new one. And we wrote up a full report, and we're distributing that to the team leaders. So if anybody wants to see it, just let us know. And just properly working out what works, what doesn't work, because it is logistically very challenging. It's very, very difficult, and not everything goes to plan, and we don't even think about some things that can happen. So it's a continual learning exercise, and so that report has been very useful, actually, very useful indeed. So I know there's questions, lots of questions. Let's start with you, yeah.
Hello, Fraser Story from the Cumberland Youths. I've rung in the youth contest every year since 2018, so 2 before COVID and 5, I think, after COVID. And whoever's idea it was to reorganise the structure of the day so that the open towers were all bespoke for the teams, rather than just a session at this tower and everyone fends for themselves wherever they're at. Whoever made up that idea, that was a very good idea. That's made it even more successful. Less chaos, everything's much more organised, so that's a very good thing to do.
Do you think that works? Because, when did we come up with that? Was it Exeter, or was it the one before Liverpool? I think Liverpool was the first time we did that.
It started the first one on COVID.
Oh, well, that's Worcester then. Yes, Worcester. So we did that in order to cope with the difficulties of COVID, and actually we found it worked. And what that means is each team has their own itinerary, and each team has a different itinerary, so that it's the spreadsheet involved. The spreadsheet involved in this is just huge, huge. So fortunately, Becky and people like spreadsheets. I think Simon is there with a mic.
Yeah, Simon Linford, St Martin's Guild. Still got scar tissue from this. The question is, I mean, the ringing community owes the ringing world a big debt of gratitude for continuing to organise this. And I wonder whether the board strategically thinks about whether you always continue to do this. It's a quirk that it's the ringing world that does it, going back a long time. And if you were thinking of organising this from scratch, if it didn't organise already, you wouldn't naturally think, oh, let's get the ringing world to do it. You might think, let's get associations to do it. But you benefit from the fact that you can get paid staff to work on this for a long time. And I wonder whether you actually get as much reward from it as it costs you. I know it's not a physical cost because it gets covered by donations, but I'm surprised you published the ringing world in a month in advance of this, because a huge amount of time goes into it, and I wonder if you get the return.
It is amazing, and huge thanks to Will and Trish and the rest of the team, and to Joe Creswell. There's nothing else going on in the week or two before the contest. And they plan way ahead in order to get the weekly publication out. So it may not come the following years if it gets even bigger, in those 2 weeks. It's possible. But it is huge, and thank you. Do we get the return? We get huge satisfaction. We know we're doing the right, we know we're doing the right thing. There has to be a sustainable team behind this, because otherwise it would be too hard for someone to pick up. It's another one of those strategic dilemmas that we have, to be honest. Linda.
Okay. As somebody that knows a bit about the Ringing World Youth Contest and the spreadsheets, and in the days where there were only 24 teams, I was tearing my hair out. A huge, huge thank you to everybody involved. And it is by far the best thing that the Ringing World does, and I think the most important event in the ringing calendar. And I went on record at the 12 bell being interviewed saying that, and then thought I'd probably dug a hole for myself. But anyway, but what I would ask, just a question, because obviously that occurred to me in the days where there were 24 teams. Would there ever be a limit? How far can it grow? And it's fabulous that it is. but the logistical problems are enormous.
We keep asking ourselves that. Should we limit it? What should we do about this? Can we cope with any more? My guess is there will be a natural limit. We don't yet know what that is. We may not be that far off it, but we don't know. But one of the key aspects of the youth contest, which is dear to our hearts, is inclusivity, and having every young ringer touch it, because it's such a motivational, inspiring event to just be around, quite frankly. I don't think if any of you have touched a youth contest, you even stewards of, die-hard ringers have been ringing for many, many years. They come away from helping at a youth contest going, whoa, that was amazing. It's a tricky one.
Jo Belston, Norwich DA. I just want to say to everyone who was involved, thank you so much for the youth competition. Our team had the most fantastic day. It was so well organised. And actually, I think this is quite possibly one of your biggest recruiting exercises, because those are the people that are going to be around for the next 40 to 60 years. So thank you, and keep up the good work.
Yes. Thank you. And yeah. You will. It is a recruitment exercise. Whoops.
Yes. Harry Andrews from the Guild of Devonshire Ringers. Just tying in the point where you said, what does the ringing world get out of hosting the competition, and the points you were discussing earlier about trying to get word out there to increase subscription. Have you looked at, say, offering a free, the week where you publish the results, offering a link to go out to all the young ringers that participate, so that can see their name in the ringing world? They might share it with other young ringers and sort of get the word out there for the online subscriptions to the young ringers.
Did you want to speak?
No, it's just a straight yes.
Yes, we'll do that, yes. Yeah, good idea. Any other questions about the youth contest? Next slide, please, Dave. Right, okay, plans for the future. Next slide, please. So I've sort of covered this already, and there isn't that much more to say. We're focusing on redeveloping the ringingworld.co.uk website, which needs modernisation anyway, but obviously integrating with Bellboard. So that's the main thrust of what we're trying to do. Sounds easy, but it really, really isn't. And we want to become a modern commercial platform over time. We want to build in more automated processes for administrative purposes. We want to integrate, electronic payments, because, my boys who ring, they don't know what to check. They don't. The whole world is electronic right now, going that way. So we want to build a future portal for all Ring and World services that connects all these things somehow. Was Richard standing up for a... Did you want to say something? Just want to read the bottom line. Okay, cool. So that's what we're doing. And we have talked to website providers. We are in conversation. We're building a clarity on the spec. And what we need to do really in the next 6 months is get clear on some big strategic decisions as a team in collaboration with all the key people, and then get clear what might be the first steps so that we're actually moving forward on that. Because we can do that. The difficulty is it's hard for Will and his team. They don't have the bandwidth to do really much else than what they're doing. So this is what's tricky. So we're going to have to go at a pace that works for us, or we're going to have to resource it a little bit more. But we'll have to sort that out, because we do need to move forward. It's worth investing now, and in order to get the future we want. And we're developing a bit more, looking at the marketing side again. Gareth and I were talking, as I say, and we're building on the success of the youth contest and carrying on, dropping those weekly publications, which is no mean feat. So that's the plan for the future. Any questions?
Ian Bucknell from the G&B. I also have had the pleasure of running the G&B youth team now for, I think it's 13 or 14 years. One thing that comes to mind is that the payment that we have to pay to enter the contest is £5 per young ringer, and that's been the same for the whole 14 years I've been running the show. And it strikes me that there's an opportunity here. The G&B pay that entrance fee, not the youngsters involved, and the G&B pay happily because of the benefits we as association get. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least if pretty much every other association does the same thing. So I would like to suggest, why not increase that fee and then offer free digital access to every young person who takes part in the contest, thereby increasing the circulation and increasing the visibility of the ringing world.
They like that idea. Yes. We were thinking of increasing the fees this year, but combining it with that offer, that's interesting. Yeah, we definitely think about that. Noted. Thank you.
Paul Flavel, Stereo Association. Last year we set aside a fund out of our general funds specifically for young ringers so that they could attend the National Youth Competition by subsiding their travel and providing polo shirts and things like that. And that was a very, very good use of our money, we felt.
And thank you for supporting all of the associations who do that. Thank you very much.
David Everett, Suffolk Guild. I'm just in the process of trying to get into the local primary schools at the top end of those, the year sixes. It does strike me that actually if we can use visible evidence, videos, etc., of the youngsters ringing in a 12-hour competition, that may actually be something which we can use positively to promote and encourage. If they see people of their age and that generation, rather than, as is often seen, the fuddy-duddies doing it.
We're building some really good collateral, actually, and this year, I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot to mention it, is Taylor's supported us by providing someone to professionally film and create a film. Is it 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes, something like that? Something like that. And so even just a snip of that would just say, this is for youngsters having fun. Yeah. And it's very well done. So it's very well, so thank you to Taylor's for that. And yeah. Another one at the back. It's available, it's being launched in a week, actually. I think it's a week's time on YouTube. Look out for something about it.
This is on. Yep. For the 12-book competition, you have Matthew Tosh and his team doing that live streaming. That is amazing for people that can't get there. Is there something similar for the youth competition?
We've tried.
We have actually tried to work with Matthew Tosh several years running now. It's super busy season for him in his real work life when you get to youth contest time, so he's never been able to be at the contest itself. He's very keen to help us collaborate on that kind of thing. I was actually hoping that we would have a video from Matthew relating to the 12 Bell and the youth contest jointly. Sadly, that's not ready. I was hoping that it would be ready by this meeting, but it's not ready. But I hope we'll be able to shout about that soon. But yes, there's definitely mileage there. Just to go back a step to Ian Bucknell, thank you for giving us permission to take more money off you. We are definitely planning to do that. But to Paul Flavel's point, some associations do set aside funds to support their local young ringers. I know that other associations don't. There's quite a lot of disparity here. So please do talk to us, talk to me and talk to Joe Cressel about your associations thinking about this. It would really help us understand where you're coming from, how we might help you, because the youth contest, as you can imagine, is a visibly good thing for the ringing world when we go out to potential grant-making bodies and that kind of thing. So if we can understand how you're thinking about money and how we could help what am I trying to say? How we could help inject money into ringing in a way that makes a difference, particularly for young people. It would really help us to understand that. What's the other thing I was going to? Yeah.
Perhaps I can also make a shout out for the other sponsors of the youth contest, if I may. David Chalk, who's currently the Sheriff of the City of London, was supremely helpful and made up our figures, so we actually balanced the books this year, which was great, with £3,500. And Will and I are going for lunch with him soon, aren't we, to find out how we can do more work with him and extract more money from the livery companies. We did, for the London youth contest, we had it was like 10 livery companies donate us smallish amounts, which was fantastic, and this was through David Chalk, and that wasn't repeated, so we need to just work a little bit harder, and we might get some useful stuff. So and then there's Wesley's, there's Matthew Higby, there's the Girdlers. I'm looking at Will, but I'm sure I've forgotten one. The college youths. I shouldn't have forgotten that one. Right, okay, I think that's good. Anything else? Next slide. Any other business? We're near the end, guys. Last chance for questions. Yes? I'm going to watch you walk.
You've got Mike here. Sorry. Hi, Nick Elps, Peterwood Artisan Guild.
I didn't see you.
I abstained in voting in the new directors. Nothing against them whatsoever. I'm sure you got very good reason for voting them on, but I would like to see these people here if I'm going to vote on them so I can speak to them. I don't know them personally. I think in a commercial environment, full commercial environment, you know, people would need to be there to be voted on. So, okay. Thank you.
Saying that, I think it's a very valid point. We will pass that on. It's a serious point. Yeah. Is there someone?
Yeah, Neil Dodge, Suffolk Guild. Although every edition is very interesting, the most interesting editions are those often focused around a theme or a particular location. Is there work to build that pipeline of future editions with potential groups?
Yeah, people do like the big theme ones. They take a lot of work, though, don't they, Will? Have you got plans?
We haven't got any concrete plans in the pipeline, so I'd be very happy to hear from people who would be interested in working with us for a themed edition or have a good theme in mind that we might work on. Thank you. No, while I've got the mic, sorry. Missing from the future plans in 2025, as it were, you can buy your 2026 calendar from the stall. Tricia, if you turn around now, Tricia's about to hold several up, I think. If you ask Tricia nicely, she may even do you a bulk discount if you want to buy several and take them back to your associations to resell. Diaries will be available in a few weeks. Also in a few weeks, for anyone who knows our little green ringing book or our little purple ringing book, we will be releasing the prequel to one and the sequel to the other, the one that fits in between them, which is going to be the blue book. That will be coming out in the next few weeks. So that will contain, that'll be a really a useful reference guide at the level sort of between Bob Doubles and what's the most advanced thing in there? Maybe sort of Bob Major, Middlesex triples, that kind of thing. It doesn't quite go up to Stedman, but it's a whole book in between that. What we really want to do is show people that there's a rich world of method ringing that has slightly been lost by people who want to go straight from Bob doubles to Stedman doubles and Cambridge minor. There's a lot of interesting methods in the middle there. So that blue book will be packed full of them. We have an order form that you can sign up and express your interest on that. We'll get in touch when it's actually released. Also on the stall today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Graham Jenkins, Chester Diocesan Guild. I just want to go back to the youth competition, which I think is an excellent thing, which we've tried to support, but we're struggling with Chester, but we'll, definitely enter a team in the forthcoming competitions. One thing that we do with young ringers is we offer Duke of Edinburgh as a recognised skill. I'm thinking about the video you're talking about, which emphasises that. Is there something you talk about actually with regards to Duke of Edinburgh, with relation to the youth competition? Is there something there that there's something that can be for potential advertising there?
We'll have a look at that. Yeah, my boys went through it myself, so yeah, we should look at that. Last question, or two questions? Yes, two questions over there, one there. Yeah, go ahead.
Elizabeth Tennant, Worcestershire and District Changing Association Southern Branch. As someone who's competed since Liverpool, with Birmingham being my final year, will you be including more opportunities to meet other young ringers? Because I've noticed I haven't had much chance to do that outside of my own group.
Thank you. Yeah, socialising is another thing we have to think about and build in. But thank you we'll note it. Yeah.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I'd point to two things. Next year, we're going to be using the Youth Contest Alumni Network far more to recruit the volunteers on Youth Contest Day, because we know that those old Youth Contest graduates are generally very favourable towards the contest and would hopefully come and help out. And we know it really changes the atmosphere when there are loads of young helpers as well. We think that's a wonderful part of the contest. The other thing I'd note is that I've been working recently with Andrea Haynes of the Central Council, who is working on lots of projects towards networking young ringers together, both at the youth level and at the less youth level, the sort of post-youth. So yes, watch out there for her work. It's very exciting.
Let's take Andrea and then I'll come back to you, don't worry.
Hiya, I'm Andrea. I'm on table 24 tomorrow, so I'll be available to chat to you all about what Will's just explained. So we're looking at collaborating on networking, keeping everything up to date and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's all quite early stages, but I'm doing quite a lot of sort of technical infrastructure kind of stuff at the moment around websites, getting those up and running, school lesson plans and stuff like that. But next year we'll be really focusing on building the networks, and we'll obviously work really closely with the Ringing World, and the youth competition will be, particularly the alumni. I think that's really important because at the moment we kind of, oh, you're 18 now, bye. And I really want to, I'm collaborating with the YCRA as well to create sort of more regional focus so we can get all the young ringers together and almost sort of graduating into the next level group. So that's the kind of thought process. Lots going on.
Plan.
Tim Jones, Devon Association. So as call change ringers, we do sponsor the youth from Devon going up. I'm not trying to be contentious here, but I would have a subscription to the Ringing World, probably an online one, if it wasn't at least a third full of just list of peels. Especially since those are already on Bellboard. Why on earth do you want to publish them all in the Ringing World? But I'm not trying to be contentious.
He leaves it to the last minute. Yes. The publishing of performances is something we had a lot of feedback on with the survey, and that's something we will have to get our heads around, how we do that. Okay. Tina.
Hi, I just want to, this Tina Stecklin, the Scottish Association, amongst other roles that I hold. Can I just say that the tenor of the last few questions just sort of emphasizes how important it is that the Central Council and the Ringing World maintain a really strong and cooperative relationship, as we've already evidenced, the close working with Andrea's work group, which you will hear more about later this afternoon, as well as tomorrow, but also on the questions of the Duke of Edinburgh. And I think that another thing that Paul Jopp and I have been discussing recently is the fact that ringers as a whole out there don't understand that the Ringing World is a distinct entity from the Central Council. For that, we're all one face. And actually, there's no reason we can't work together to continue to be one face and continue to work together. So I just want to sort of emphasize how much I'm delighted by the response coming in, and also by the many uses of the word experiment, which means we're going to try things, and sometimes they'll work and sometimes they don't. But that's how we actually get bold new ideas off the ground. So congratulations. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to close this meeting at 11:35. Thank you so much for your input and your support today and throughout the year. Thank you. Oh, is there something else to say? Ernie?
No, not for this meeting, but thank you very much for the excellent way you've chaired this meeting. Can I just remind people that the council meeting is at 2 o'clock? 1 o'clock, sorry. Sorry, I've got so many different versions of the agenda. Can I ask people to make sure they have signed in for the council meeting? Also, for motion A and for motion B, which require a change of rules, we are planning to have a paper vote. So the stewards will have ballot slips. Just make sure you've got a ballot slip for each motion in your hand before the start of the meeting. Right.
Mr. Secretary, somebody or other, Jane Wilkinson, Cumberland Youths, nobody seems to have said thank you to Mary. She was a superb secretary for the council. She's now been a superb secretary for the Ringing World. She now says she's going to do something she enjoys. So I wish her luck. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mary. She's still continuing for the moment, so it's not really goodbye just yet. That's it. You're